Right here is the program that I have put together so far. So we have the three buttons here, the raise, lower, and line level. Over here are the passenger and the driver um, outputs, and also the white passenger and white driver potentiometer inputs. And they're represented by these sliding potentiometers here. So this would be the driver side and passenger side. And then I have some LEDs that are representing the air output and the descent output. Here is the motor, which is just attached to a motor. And I think that's it. Plus 24 volts in ground. That's this plug right here, like the normal board. But I had to reroute that power because I don't have another plug. And then this LED here is connected to the light outputs. I just have two of them randomly. Currently, it's just soldered right on, but that's also powered by 24 volts, and that's to represent the lights that are underneath the scissor lift. So if I go down to a certain level, then that light turns off. But if I go up, then it stays on. Another thing, this 7-segment display, it represents the program state. So right now the program state is 1, and what that means is that it's just pulling the button inputs. It's waiting for a command. And there's the heartbeat LED blinking right now. That means that the program is operating fine. That means that everything is ready to go and that the pots are close enough to run the program. So if I press the raise button, then this motor turns on, and both of these um, proportioning valves, they turn on as well, and it's PWM. And I'll show you the frequency using my multimeter. I don't have an oscilloscope, which would have been handy, but the hertz for that, if I turn it on, is 244 hertz, and that's pretty much bang on to what I observed from their current board. So when the raise goes on, the motor turns on, and also both of the proportioning valves turn on according to the inputs from the left and right pots. Then if I press the lower button, then first the motor turns on and the air turns on, and then the motor turns off. The air just stays on by itself for a second, and then the descent and the air are on. So if I press that now, motor turns on to raise it, and then finally the descent output goes on. And you'll notice that the 7-segment display changes based on what button is pressed. So if I press raise, it goes to 2. If I press lower, it goes to 3. And if I press align and level, it does nothing, because you also need to press the lower button, and then it goes into state 4. State 4 is just descent along with the driver and the passenger outputs. If you press the 0 button, that will of course 0 the pots, and it will reset the position. So for example, if I were to increase one of these but the other one is not increasing, eventually it will hit a point where it goes into an error state, and the error states can be seen by the heartbeat LED goes solid, and then the dot on the 7-segment display begins to blink, and then it also shows you what error it is in. And currently it's in error 1, which is represented by the pots being too offset. So this one can be cleared without a complete device reset. What you can do is you can press the 0 push button, and what that will do is it will 0 it again. So now you have to raise them. They're offset obviously, but if you raise them together and keep that offset going, then it will not go into an error. But I'm going to bring them back to a closer point again, and you can see that it went into an error again because they were offset from the 0. So all I have to do is just 0 it again, and then the program will go back into state 1. The other error that I have programmed currently is error 2, which is that the pots have shorted with each other. So I can represent that just with this little wire. I go across the red and black on the pot inputs, and then it will go into error 2 if I can get that in there, and then it's error 2. The only way to get out of error 2 is if you press the reset switch. All other buttons, all other functions are completely disabled when it enters into error 2. So if I press the reset switch and it no longer detects a short, then the program will resume as normal. So you might be wondering, how do you set the light? How do you set that position on the pots? Well, it's very simple. You simply need to be in descent mode and press the 0 button. And wherever these pots happen to be when it's in descent and the 0 button is pressed, that will set that position as the lower point. And then equally, if you press the raise button and the 0 button, then that will set the upper limit of the pots. And that represents a point when it's above the highest airlocks, so that when you press lower and it's at that height, the motor doesn't turn on to increase the jack, but rather it goes down to try to negate the problem of the lift wanting to go up, but it can no longer go up because it's already reached its maximum height. So that's all I have